Now it's time for our energy update with Dan McTeague from GasWizard.ca.
Well, hi, Nima. Thanks again for this. What a week it's been on the energy and gasoline and diesel front. As I mentioned last week, prices would be up, and in fact, they did go up, but they're not likely to remain. But it's a bit of a regional toss-up right now. If you're in Vancouver, Lower Mainland, Victoria, you know full well that the price of energy, gasoline, has gone up 26 cents a liter just in the past couple of days. That's due to tightness in supplies along the U.S. West Coast. It's also due to refinery maintenance, a turnaround, if you will, in Ferndale, just south of Vancouver on the U.S. side, Washington State, as well as the all-important Olympic pipeline owned by BP. That goes through semi-annual maintenance, and it looks like they're up to doing it again. So that's the main reason why prices rose so dramatically and so quickly. BC, the Lower Mainland in particular, is susceptible. They just don't have enough supply coming in. And what supply they have is really based on the price south of the border, which from California, from Los Angeles, all the way up to Blaine and Bellingham and even Point Roberts has pretty much exploded on the wholesale side. So that means that we're going to continue to see prices at least this weekend in the 220 range. But I think that's as far as it goes, not just for BC, not just for Vancouver, not just for the eastern, western parts of the country. Markets are in an unprecedented funk. It has no bearing on supply, on fundamentals, on demand and supply. If it were the case, oil would be trading at $100 to $120 a barrel, not $78. What we're seeing here is absolute panic in the markets, and it's really in response to the willingness by central banks who overextended themselves, refused to stop printing money, something we've heard from candidates like Pierre Poilievre, and refused to continue providing mortgage injections into the markets, creating that kind of inflation. And worse, adding to the idea of energy scarcity, simply because what we're seeing here is an example of where policymakers, along with central banks, have got it spectacularly wrong. There is a shortage of global supplies of crude, diesel, jet fuel, and yes, to a lesser extent, gasoline. And the demand is not dropping quickly enough. In fact, these lower prices will spur demand. And that means that for the rest of Canada, while we will see a price decrease come Sunday, in most cases, or perhaps next Thursday and Friday, if you happen to be in the Maritimes, because you have a rather patronistic system in which you have to wait 5 or 6 days to get your gas price reductions or increases. The reality is that we're going to be facing a short-term drop in prices, but a long-term negative consequence for consumers as we head towards winter, and the reality of shortages of those supplies now don't just appear in Europe, but they will appear globally. What that means is that in the many of the prairie provinces, Alberta in particular, we've seen prices move up about 5 to 8 cents a liter. That's because they've had the too good to be true pricing. We know that next week the province will begin the process of restoring the 13-cent retail sales tax on gasoline. We also know in Saskatchewan and Manitoba, prices are probably going to remain about where they are. Now, I would say that for Ontario, at $1.53.9, you're likely to see prices drop about 5 cents a liter until midweek, at which point they'll go right back up 5 cents a liter. So we'll be back pretty much where we are today and tomorrow. For Quebec, same thing. You'll be looking at about $1.65 low end, $1.72 at the high end. And for the Maritime provinces, you'll continue to see prices in the range of about $1.65 as low as $1.55. So depends on where you are, what the taxes are in your jurisdiction. It's pretty clear that prices will, of course, be reflective of another factor, and that's hurricanes in the U.S. Gulf Coast. Yes, we're going to get one, and that's likely to have disruption or disruptive effect on both gasoline supplies as well as oil production and oil availability. So all those things being considered, it's going to be quite a tumultuous next couple of weeks at the gas pumps. Behind it, we're really talking about an energy sector that is being battered by a number of circumstances globally, well beyond fundamentals of supply and demand. As I said earlier, Supply and demand will eventually prevail, and those prices are going to come to sting, especially when the U.S. has to buy back all that oil that it foolishly gave away from the Strategic Petroleum Reserve so Biden could win the next midterms. That's it for this week, Nima. We'll talk to you next week.
All right, thanks for that, Dan. Lots to keep in mind for this week. Again, that was Dan McTeague, Senior Petroleum Analyst at GasWizard.ca. He's also the president of Canadians for Affordable Energy.